Where is God in a world of chaos? And my word, the world does seem to be a world full of chaos, doesn't it? We turn on the TV or we look at the news, and what do we see? War continuing to rumble on in Ukraine. We have the Israeli-Palestinian conflict in Gaza with the terrible scenes from there. We have war breaking out in Yemen and across the wider Middle East, coming close to home. The NHS seems in crisis. Politics seems in crisis. It seems to be despair and destruction and chaos everywhere. In fact, a year or two ago, linguists invented a whole new word, doomscrolling. What's doomscrolling? Well, if you're like me, you've probably caught yourself doing it. Doomscrolling is when you sit on the sofa or lie in bed, often late at night with your smartphone there, scrolling through depressing news story after depressing news story after depressing news story, feeling grimmer and more miserable as you look at the chaos all around you. And no wonder that psychologists will tell you that as a society we are more anxious, we are more depressed, we are more uptight, we are more stressed because of all of this. So where is God in a world like that? Well, let's start by just exploring for a moment what the implications are if there is no God. If the answer to where is God is he's nowhere to be found because there is no God. Some of my atheist friends might respond that way. Well, then we really are stuffed, aren't we? Because atheism would tell us, secularism would tell us that if we live in a godless universe, things are going to continue to get worse and worse and worse. We might manage to make a sort of short-term fix, but ultimately we are on a downward slope to destruction. One day some mad dictator, be it North Korea or Putin or whoever, will figure out a way to push the red button and end it all, or some plague will finish humanity off, or some other crisis will be the end of our race. At some point humanity will go extinct. That's simply biological fact. Then one day the sun will expand and swallow the earth, and everything will come to an end, empty and dark and cold and alone. And it doesn't matter what you do tomorrow, ultimately everything is going to end in destruction. Pretty despairing, right? But that is the logical outworking if atheism is true. Well, okay then, what if there is some kind of God kicking around out there? Well, then the next question is, what kind of God are we talking about? If we're talking about a God who merely brought reality into existence, wound up the clockwork of the universe and then disappeared off over the horizon, never to be seen again, or to be honest, that kind of God is of absolutely no use at all whatsoever. No wonder the world is in chaos, because he's asleep on the job, he's not here to help us. But what if there's a different kind of God? You see, the Bible describes a God who brought the universe into existence, but then that God didn't disappear over the horizon, but has been involved with his creation right since the beginning. And particularly, that God, the Bible says, got spectacularly and personally involved in his creation when he stepped into the middle of it, when he stepped into space and time and history, when he stepped into the chaos of the world in the person of Jesus. And Christians believe that the God of the Bible is not a God who runs from our broken world, but who stepped in the person of Jesus, who got his feet dirty with the dust of the world, his hands bloody with the nails of the world, and who went to the cross and died there to take into himself my mess-ups, your mess-ups that have contributed to the chaos that we see. And Christians believe that that Easter story of Jesus' death and resurrection is not just some spiritual story about how we might become friends with God again, but it's a story at its heart about how God is beginning to put right this broken world with all of its mess and its chaos. And Christians believe because of that this world has a direction and a purpose. History is not going to continue to unravel and the chaos simply amplify until it's chaos everywhere. But Christians believe history is heading towards a point where there will be ultimate justice, ultimate peace, ultimate love, ultimate forgiveness when God brings history to its conclusion. And we can believe that not because of some pie-in-the-sky hope for when we die, but because of that very real event of Jesus' death and resurrection right there in the middle of history. So even though the world is chaotic, I still have hope because of the promise of the Bible that for those who put their trust in that God I've spoken about, we can know that peace of having God with us, such that even when times are turbulent, we can know his presence right in the midst of the chaos. As a Christian, I would answer the question, where is God in all the chaos? I'd say he's right there with us. He's with me, and he would love to be with you too, if you would invite him to.